Hello and welcome to Nick V Uncensored. Today we've got Andrew Sorchini, and today we're going to be talking about why the central banks are holding onto gold. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, and what have you been up to?
I'm great, and thanks for having me on. And I'm happy to be here and talk to people about why gold and silver have been hitting record highs almost every single day for the last couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Now, this is going to be a very interesting conversation. But before we begin, I just want to say that we're back on YouTube, and I want to put a disclaimer out there. We're not financial advisors to not violate YouTube's guidelines. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. We're here to explore this space and in gold, and you have to do your own research. Andrew, what's going on? Gold is at an all-time high. I believe it's over the $4,000 mark per ounce. We back 5 years ago when it was hitting around 1,800, $2,000 an ounce. I thought that was a lot. What's going on now?
It's there's something called the BRICS nations. It started with Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Now there's a slew of other nations now that are part of it. And these countries are hoarding the earth's gold in record amounts. And they're doing it because they're ushering in they're trying to de-dollarize the globe by ushering in a gold-backed digital currency. And this is an idea where us as an entire like global setup, we could just pay for things like cryptocurrency, but have it backed by something real and not fiat currency like we're using every single day. And that's one of the things. And also, I think that the United States has weaponized the dollar by seizing the Russian bank accounts after the invasion of Ukraine. So I think that that's shown that if you want to control your own destiny, you need to have hard assets, tangible assets that you can touch and hold in your hand and have access to.
Now, why is gold becoming more expensive? Is this the reason because the dollar is melting?
It is like the dollar is, we have a $38 trillion debt here in the United States. The number just keeps going up. The interest on that debt is $1 trillion a year. And really the dollar has, back in the early 70s, if you got all the US dollars and if you counted up every US dollar ever printed, there wasn't even $1 billion yet. So, and now they're in the quadrillions, which is more than 1,000 trillion. It's the dollars are everywhere, and they're not worth the paper they're printed on. So people out there and big banks are afraid, and they're hoarding as much gold and silver as they can. So mostly on this interview, I think we'll talk about gold, but I just think it's important that people know that as many good things as we say about gold, what's good for gold is great for silver.
Absolutely. Also, I want to touch on silver because silver has been very undervalued. It's used commercially in televisions and stuff like that. Um, do you see a rise in silver as well?
I do. I love that question, especially now with the emergence of AI. So you hear AI, everything. It's like it's just AI is now a part of our daily lives. And anything that is AI generated is going to require supercomputers, these data centers that are just loaded with supercomputers. These supercomputers need batteries to run off of, and the batteries are becoming quite expensive because they need so many of them. So they're moving to solar powering for these data centers to keep AI like moving up in the level that it is. So when you have solar panels, they need to have silver as a conduit. Silver is like the best, most cost-effective type of conduit to be able to make the solar panels work. When solar panels are made with silver in them, that silver cannot be recycled because it's too costly to take that silver out of the different folds of aluminum and metal that make up the solar panel. So silver would have to be $250 for 1 ounce in order for it to then be profitable to recycle silver out of a solar panel. Currently, silver is about $50 an ounce, so we're not quite there yet. So silver is being consumed on a daily basis.
So when do you think silver would reach the $250 mark?
Well, that's a great question. I'll lead with today a big report came out about gold. Okay, JP Morgan now says that gold will break $8,000 by 2026. So if gold's going to hit 8,000 by 2026 and it's sitting right now at 4,100 for 1 ounce, at the same time, silver's sitting at $50 an ounce. Okay. If it were to double the same way that JP Morgan says that gold would, then that would mean that we could potentially have $100 silver by 2026. I think it'll happen much sooner than that. I think we'll be halfway to that $250 mark for 1 ounce of silver by about 2026. But the way things can take off, and I'll use Bitcoin as an example. Bitcoin has really shot up since the United States election in November. It really has taken off since then. I think that silver could have a similar move. And I think it's definitely worth people out there reaching out to us to learn how to obtain physical silver.
Absolutely. A lot of people are sometimes feel withdrawn to invest in gold and silver because they feel that it's so expensive and they've missed the boat. What do you say to those people?
Yeah, it's that's a wonderful question. Many people do reach out to us and say like, "Hey, did I miss this? I thought about it 2, 3 years ago. Like you mentioned, like 3 years ago, silver was under $20 an ounce, gold was under 2,000 an ounce, and they feel like they missed the boat." And I think that it's important that people realize that if they invest in gold and silver today, you're investing in it based on where you think they're headed price wise. Okay. And not focus too much on what you could have got it for and where it is today. So if I'm buying gold today, and if I feel excited about buying more gold based on what JP Morgan had to say, that gold could be $8,000 an ounce possibly in 2026, then that's the goal that I'm looking at. So I stay out of the short-term stuff because gold and silver really should be a long-term hold, meaning a minimum 3 to 5 years, because you're buying a physical asset. If you're looking to invest in gold and silver today and sell a month from now, then you wouldn't need to get a physical gold and silver. You should look at maybe something on the stock market. So physical gold and silver for people that are afraid of things that are happen geopolitically, or they're afraid of having large amounts of money sitting in the bank. Where here in United States, the FDIC only covers $250 per social security number. So you can have $10 million in the bank. You could have it in 10 different accounts, and you're still only covered for $250,000 if the bank fails. So that's a scary thought.
It's a very scary thought because when you were just saying that, I was also just thinking that there's a lot of youngsters today where they've invested into gold, silver, even Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, which most of the time is a hedge against inflation, and they've become so wealthy. And the older generation, say, people in their, 50s and 60s and even 70s, they underestimate that because we've been programmed in saving in dollars. And they keep all this money in their bank accounts, but little do they know, they see the number of dollars, but they don't see how much it's declining in value. So what do you say to those people who are actually becoming broke by saving dollars? They see the number of dollars going up, but actually they're not seeing the value go down more than they're saving. So what do you say to that? Because it's like an illusion, isn't it?
It is. It's when I answer the question for people, and I do it a lot, it almost just feels like it's conjecture because we're so used to just looking at a black screen. It doesn't matter if it's your laptop, your iPad, your iPhone, or a smartphone, whatever it is. People like to look at numbers, see those numbers, and if the number's big, you feel good about the choices that you've made in regards to investing. But what you're talking about is something very real. Like here in the United States, when I pull up to fill up my gas tank on my car, it's going to cost me around $5.50 for 1 gallon of gasoline, and that's significantly goes higher. There was a time earlier this year when buying a dozen eggs at the supermarket would cost $10. So these are things that are inflationary. So when daily goods and services cost more, okay, that means that the buying power of your dollar today buys less than what it bought a year ago. And a year ago bought less than what it did 2 years ago. And this is a trend that is not good. So the dollar is losing value. But if you owned a significant amount or whatever you could get your hands on of gold and silver during that time, gold and silver has continually gone up. So while your buying power on your dollar is going down, you're actually offsetting that with your gold and silver investments. And you don't see that on a computer screen. You don't log into Robinhood or Coinbase or Schwab or whatever it is, and you can't see that. You just have to understand that that is the case, and that's a big message that we're trying to carry to people. And I'll close out this thought with one thing. Our primary goal with investing in gold and silver isn't always to make money. It really is to protect what you have. So that's the primary goal. Protect everything that you've worked for with gold and silver. Now, the secondary goal is that if you can time everything right, if your goals are realistic for when you plan to liquidate, or if you ever do, that you can make money with gold and silver. And the people that have invested with us in the last 2 or 3 years have all doubled their money. It's just unbelievable. It's the only time in my whole career where I've been able to proudly say that.
Absolutely. I think it's also an action of sovereignty, because you're tying cords with the government, especially when you have a pension fund or an IRA or something like that, and you're just paying into your pension, but you're putting in, you're saving in dollars. And that's devaluing. My mother, for an example, it took me a long time to get her out, to get her to change and evolve out of the system, because she was used to working and paying into a pension fund. And then I says to her, Mum, you have to, whatever you're saving every month, put that in gold, and you will find that you'll become wealthier, not poorer. What are your thoughts on that?
To me, that whole idea helps me sleep at night. When I went to the bank a couple of days ago and they asked me to switch around some accounts. They wanted me to just basically change from one account to another, and that's where I learned about the FDIC only protecting you for one account per social security number, and that there's no cards anywhere that talk about FDIC anywhere in the banks here in US. There used to be, but they were asked to remove them. So the notion that you said of what you told to your mom is like owning physical gold and silver gives you a sense of security that is real, because you know that if the banks start to shut down, even if you have money in a safe deposit box, yeah, you have the key to that box, but you don't have a key to the front door. So if the banks don't open, you don't have access to what's yours in that bank. But when you have gold and silver somewhere, you do have access to that. You want to keep it somewhere where you can get to it if there's an emergency. And to me, that's very, very important. Nicholas, back like 15, 20 years ago, if people say things like what I just said about gold and silver and emergency and being ready, and people that bought gold and silver back then, 15, 20 years ago, were the town crazy people. Like seriously, like they're walking around like, hey, the sky is falling, you need to do this. But now when you talk about that, people sit up and understand. People know that gold and silver is what you need. And you talked about like some of the younger people. If you go on some of the forums on Reddit, one of my favorite ones is the Wall Street Bets forum, where you know about them quite well, I'm sure. They're the ones that did the short squeeze on some of the meme stocks here in the United States. And also those people have made a lot of money on cryptocurrency. And when I go and check some of the posts, they're buying up silver. Like young people are buying silver again, and they haven't done it since I was a kid, and that's going back, a few decades. So it's younger people now want to own stocks, cryptocurrency, and silver, and I love to see that happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what is it that you do that you can offer to the viewers to help them protect to protect their wealths and their futures, the pensions? If you could explain, and I'd love to leave a link below in the description so that people can contact you and learn more how to be more sovereign and cut ties with the control system and be free.
Oh, absolutely. So the best way to reach us is to go on our website and schedule a free consultation. Okay. Our website is www.bh-pm.com. So it's BH like Beverly Hills dash PM preciousmetals.com. And you schedule a free consultation. There's a form that'll come up, and just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number, and most important, say how you heard about us. So if you're watching this today, then mention Nicholas in the how did you hear about us portion. And then there's a note section underneath. And that note section is probably the best way that we can help you. You might have a retirement account like a 401k or an IRA or an annuity, something that you might not know, but you can convert that into a precious metals IRA without it being a taxable event. We can explain to you how that works. And some people might say things like, hey, I don't really need a consultation. I've been buying gold and silver for years. I liked what you had to say. And I want to just find out what you have that's available that I could get a good deal on. And anything that's on your mind, put it in there. But one thing people should know is that we're not the typical sales operation here where we're going to tell you that you need to do this today. We're not going to try to beat you over the head to make a decision. What we want people to do is gain the education necessary so that you don't make an emotional decision. Because when you make emotional decisions regarding investments, that's how you make mistakes. And when you make mistakes in matters involving money, it costs. And most of us don't want to have to work harder to try to recoup that. So get it right the first time. Reach out to us, get the information, let us help provide you with that. And then if the time is right, then we'll go ahead and help you obtain physical gold and silver. If it's not right, then you can circle back at any point. But we found that approach works much better than trying to make you do it on one call.
Absolutely. Well, Andrew, thank you very much for sharing everything with us today. It's been an absolute honor. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
Yeah, it's only that the traditional way of how we've been transacting with money, it doesn't matter if you're in the UK or here in the United States or anywhere else in the world, that using dollars, okay, physical coins and bills, that's going away. That's completely going away. You talked about the generational gap a little bit with you and your mom, and then also now there's people younger than us that they don't want to carry cash. They want to transact with their phones. Right now, they're doing it with cash apps like Apple Pay and Venmo, but soon they're going to be doing it with cryptocurrency. As you and I discussed even before the interview, we can transact with cryptocurrency. And because cryptocurrency feels like it's fiat currency, there needs to be something that's stable or possibly gold backed. We're definitely headed there. I don't know what form it's going to be in entirely, but be ready for this. Be ready for the change, because how we pay for things is going to change forever.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Andrew. And the link is below. Please click the link to learn more, and we'll speak again very soon. You take care. Bye bye.